Actually, the last game, I thought our players, really played with more consistency in the game. We played with really good intensity, played with a really good effort, toughness. I thought the focus was really good, which all leads to better execution, less penalties, no turnovers, a lot of good things. I don't think this is the time to, get satisfied with yourself in any way, shape, or form. If you're focusing on what you need to do to be the best player you can be and what we need to do to be the best team that we can be, our focus is going to be what we need to do to improve and get better for the challenges ahead, which, every challenge is a bigger challenge. So, we had some players of the week on offense: Kenyon Drake, A.J., and Austin Shepard. On defense, Ha, Landon Collins, C.J. Mosley, and Jerick Williams. And special teams, D. Hart, Eddie Jackson, and DeAndrew White. From an injury standpoint, Vinny will have surgery tomorrow and be out for the year. Vinny's done a great job for us. He's an outstanding player and really good person, good leader. Can't say enough about the job he's done, throughout this year in his career. Always hate it when, guys get injuries. It's a tough part of the game. But it's going to provide an opportunity for some other guys to, step up and play well, and we'll probably play with, Landon Collins in that position, in which he's been playing Ha-Ha's position. So, those two guys will, and Jerick Williams will be backing them up. Bradley Sylvie is be day-to-day, and so will Alt with their injuries, and we will not know until later in the week whether they'll be able to, play in this game. This game with Tennessee is a, very special rivalry for, a lot of people, a lot of our folks in Alabama, and especially for our team. And it's been one of the best rivalries in college football for a long, long time. And right now Tennessee is emerging as, a very good football team in the last 2 weeks. Had an opportunity to beat Georgia, beat South Carolina last week. I think Butch Jones has done an outstanding job there, and when a team improves like they've improved, it's always a sign of good coaching staff, and a lot of people doing a very, very good job. So they're able to run the ball very effectively on offense, and quarterbacks played really well for them. Defensively, they've got 8 starters back and have played really well so far this year. They've got all their specialists back. They're very good on special teams. So this is a really solid team all the way around.
I'm just wondering if you can talk about the trickle-down effect Vinny's injury has on like the nickel and dime formations. And I guess with Landon, what's made him kind of a natural at that strong safety position going back into his high school career?
Well, Landon's been a very good player for us in whatever role that we've asked him to play. He's played money, he's played free safety, he's played strong safety. Strong safety is his natural position. When we had all of our players, he was Vinny's backup, so that's where he got the majority of his reps. I think when we're in nickel, we're okay because Jerick is a star. So when we go to dime, then Gino has to come in and Jerick has to play money. So that makes, more changes, from that standpoint. But you lose the continuity of the reps from nickel to dime when you move guys all around a new position. So that's not something that we want to do if we can help. We had to do it in last week's game, but, hopefully, at least we have the opportunity to prepare the guys at the positions they're going to play, this week.
Ask about their offensive line. It's seen as one of their strengths. What do you see from that group, a veteran group?
Well, those guys have been playing for a long time, and both their tackles are very, very good players. Their inside guys are good players. This is a veteran group. They play very well. They've been very effective running the ball, and they have a good back, but they also do a really good job up front. They run the ball for over 200 yards a game, so and they haven't had many sacks. So I think that's all an indication of very good offensive line play.
Coach, you kind of undertaken a couple rebuilding jobs during your career. What's the biggest thing that you can do when you're doing that? And have you noticed anything that Butch Jones has done this year to do that for Tennessee?
Well, I think, one of the first things is establish good intangibles, in your organization, whether it's work ethic, discipline, and I see all those things, happening because of their improvement as well as the way they play. They don't have very many penalties. They're first in the league in how many penalties they get. So I think they've really established good intangibles with their team, and their team certainly reflects it in the way they play.
Coach, a couple if I could. First of all, back in '07, you had a big win over a quality opponent in Arkansas. I guess the first really big win in the late stages of the game, similar to what Tennessee did against South Carolina. How big of a lift is that for a team and a coaching staff in a transition year?
Well, I think it does a tremendous amount for everyone's confidence, when you start to believe that if you do things the right way and, the way that it's getting presented to you every day, that you have the best opportunity to be successful. And I think the more people buy into that and believe in it, and obviously when you have success, that is something that you can relate to and that they can relate to that is helpful. And I think it means a huge amount, to any team and any program.
And secondly, what's your take on what happened over the weekend in the league with all of the upsets and the level of play that you, Missouri, and Auburn are playing at right now?
Well, I think that it's the SEC. There's a lot of good teams. Sometimes, teams go through tough circumstances during the course of the year, whether it's, lots of injuries. I know a couple of those teams, Georgia and Florida, I know for sure have had, a lot of, really good key players that, they've lost for whether it's an extended period of time or a short period of time, and that affects, your team, especially at some positions where you don't have the same quality of depth you might have someplace else. But I also think it speaks to the very good coaching, very good programs that we have from top to bottom in this league, that everybody you play has the capabilities of beating you because of the quality of players as well as the quality of coaching and programs that we have in this league. And no surprise to me that, things are, there's a little bit of a changing of the guard, this year, and that's why when people talk about scheduling and imbalances in scheduling, they make the assumptions that certain teams are always good. And, we played Tennessee for years and years and years around here where they were one of the best teams, in the SEC, and would certainly be categorized as one of those teams. So you can't make assumptions on what things are present day relative to, you got to look at the whole body and all that. And I think, history says that we have a lot of teams in the SEC that are capable of being very, very good, and I think you're seeing some of that emerge this year.
Just wondering if you had an update on Ryan Kelly and how he's been progressing and how you feel the offensive line has played with Chad in at center.
Well, I think Chad has done a good job, and the offensive line has played, better each week, and I think Ryan's going to be, full go this week, and, we'll see how he progresses through the course of the week, and, we have a lot of confidence in both of those players.
I've got two as well. You mentioned the Tennessee rivalry. Is that something that you knew coming in, what a big game it was, or who kind of emphasized the point that this is a special week?
Well, I knew it was a big game. I mean, if you're in college football, you kind of recognize what the big rivalry games are all over the country. But I think that until you really get to a place and feel it, from the supporters and the fans and, the players and everybody that's involved in the organization, you really get the true sense of, what the game means to everyone.
And you mentioned him. Wanted to ask you about Gino's progress. He's learning that new position. How's that going?
Well, Gino's doing a good job. He's playing multiple roles. He plays, star, and we're trying to develop him as a safety. And, I think he's learning and progressing every week, and, doing a good job. I think there's a lot to learn, especially during the course of the season when every week you play a team, it's a different set of circumstances, that you have to play against. So you're adjusting and adapting the things that you do. So if a guy doesn't have a foundation for that, it makes it much more difficult for him to learn the basics as he's trying to learn the adjustments. And, Gino's a bright guy, and he's worked hard at it, and he's doing a good job.
I know you're in favor of the non-game SEC schedule. I wondered how much of that is to ensure rivalries like this stay around annually.
Well, I just, I think there's two things. I think that it's important to the fans that we play quality games, and I think it's important that we keep the games that the fans are really interested in, as natural rivalries. But I also think it's important for, every player to play everybody in the league, in his career, which if you don't play two other teams from the other side, that doesn't really happen. So I know there's issues with it, and I understand the opposition to it, but I think we all need to think of the fans first. We've got to have games that people are interested in coming to see, want to fill the stadium, and I think that's where it all starts. And I know that there's so many, good SEC rivalries and so much respect for that each program has for the other programs and teams in this league that there's always a lot of interest when we play SEC games.
I also had two questions. The first one, just to go back to Vinny a little bit, I wanted just to make sure we get it right. What was the damage to the knee?
Well, he needs surgery. He has ligament damage. We usually don't give a medical report. He needs surgery, and he's out for the year. Call Doc.
Okay. Second question. You've talked about Kenyon Drake, how he's always been productive. It seems like you guys aren't missing a beat, whichever tailback is in that backfield right now, production-wise. Is that good to see? How is that? Can you talk a little bit about how that's
Well, I think
evolved?
it's good for our team. I think those two guys have played well, and, both the tailbacks complement each other in terms of their style. One guy's a little faster, and, the other guy's more of a inside, make you miss, hard to tackle. So I think the change of pace that the two guys complement each other with is, really something that's good for our team, and I think it's good for both of them as well. And hopefully they'll both continue to improve and play well for us. But the fact that they both do well, probably speaks to something that's happening up front with the offensive line and the receivers in terms of how, everybody's doing their job on those particular plays.
Coach, could you comment on the passing of your old coach and the impact that Don James had on your life?
Well, that's we probably all have 3 or 4 really significant people in our life that you say that having a relationship with this person really impacted the direction of my life, the quality of my life, a lot of personal decisions that, I made, and how, philosophically, the way you live your life, the way you do your job, all kinds of things get affected by those people. And Don James was certainly, one of those people for me. Have as much respect for, him as a person and as a coach, the job that he did, the organization that he has, and to this day, a lot of the things that I learned being a graduate assistant and a player for him are still things that we implement in our program philosophically. And I spoke to him a couple weeks ago, and, I told him that. And, he kind of laughed about it. I said, I used to hate to run progressives at Monday practice, and our players hate it too, but we still do it. And so that's something I did as a player, and we still do here now. And but there's a lot of things like that, whether it's recruiting, how to manage players. The whole idea of trying to help the players be successful, more successful as people, really probably came from Coach James, and to try to develop a program that helps them do that. And the discipline to do that are all things that came from him. So, our thoughts and prayers are certainly with he and his family. Thanks, Coach. See some of that.